when the clock strikes 5 in your weekend, you know that it's the dawn of your weekend's most profitable 60 minutes. This is BISNOMICS. I'm Thalandu Amarasekara. When the conversation is about the much needed earning in foreign revenue, forex, dollars, call it whatever you want, when the conversation is about that, tourism sector is one such industry that we need to pay very close attention to. But it's also one of the most dynamic industries where, with the global developments of possible recessions in key markets and at the same time an ongoing war between two of the key tourism markets of Sri Lanka, how well is our tourism industry going to perform in the months to come, and what are the evolving challenges that we need to be aware of? To talk about this, we have a trio of experts regarding the tourism sector joining us, and we will be first joined by none other than Mr. Nilan Wickramasinghe, representing the Sri Lankan Association of Inbound Tour Operators. Mr. Nilan, absolute pleasure to welcome you to BISNOMICS.
Thank you for the invitation, Thalandu.
Mr. Nilan, let's get right to the point here. In terms of the current status of the tourism sector, we've had certain members from your association as well coming and speaking to us, but I believe the picture of the tourism industry a few weeks ago is probably not what it is today, because it keeps evolving and the challenges, the problems, the situations keep changing all the time. The developments are endless. So is there any positive outlook towards the tourism sector of Sri Lanka as at now, and what are the key developments that we see in the present?
First of all, if you think about the previous years, because we had a very bad period, starting from 2019 and now COVID.
2 years of COVID.
2 years of COVID, and 22 we started with a positive note. And we were getting more inquiries, and some tours which has been cancelled over the years has been realized. And up till May, I think we did a good scenario. But in terms of when it comes to May and June, May we had less arrivals, 32,000 I think, and then it improves to 37, and I think it's about 47 in July. So what has happened in May, especially the 9th May, has affected enormously the tourism, because people all over the world have seen what has taken place, the unrest of the country.
A lot of travel advisories were issued as well, I believe. Yeah.
That's right, yes, because this is one of the industries in the world, I think the most sensitive industry in the world, so which is vulnerable for everything, like political aspects, social, environmental, technical, and especially if you talk of pestle, every letter of pestle is in tourism, because if you need to welcome tourists, visitors to the country, it has to the peace has to be there. Now, a peaceful political environment has to be there. People unrest should not be there. It has to be free from any of the diseases. And when everything is coming into place in a country, if the country is peaceful, it's like birds coming into a new destination. Tourists will come and flock. And this is one of the best industries in the world in terms of export and import, and in terms of earning dollars. If you very nicely put the question. When you talk about the forex into Sri Lanka, if you need a quick buck in terms of dollars, you have to improve tourism. Because if you take any other industry, take garments, take plantation, whatever, it takes time. You have to have a production, and the weather has to be good, and then you have to import
the
markets and then sell. And when the process happens, from the first point to the last point, it will take at least about 6 months.
For sure.
But tomorrow or day after, in 2 weeks, if you can bring everything in order in this country, tourists will start coming from the next month. So
we have the nature, with the fauna, the flora, we have all that, isn't it?
Everything. When a person comes into the country with his backpack or whatever, he brings at least $500 to $1,000, at least minimum, into the country.
Understood. So, Mr. Nilan, when we look at the situation, the government has taken certain measures, obviously, in terms of, we saw so much of comments from them too, even from the minister, about how there will be fuel made available specifically for the tourists, the tourism sector players and so on. What are the key support measures that the government has taken to support the tourism, and most importantly, as an industry stakeholder, are you happy with it?
The thing is, it's like trying to search something in the dark. You know, the situation is so bad and with bad publicity, and people reluctant to come. And also with the travel advisories and things, having fuel, availability of fuel is not going to be enough. And so I think the government did their best. And also the tourism ministry, SLTD, we have to be thankful for them. And SLAITO hand in hand work with them to to find a mechanism to make fuel available.
Correct.
But the thing is, you need to have fuel in the country first to distribute, and then we have to find places. And the recently introduced quota is not enough. If there is a petrol car or a van running, to do a round tour in Sri Lanka for about 8 to 10 days, you need at least to run 1,600 kilometers. If you take a vehicle which is doing about 8 per liter, you will need at least 300 to 350 liters per week.
Understood.
And when it comes to buses, so the buses, the consumption is very high. So it can go up to 800 liters per week. So these are the requirements. If the tourists start coming in, so we will have to find a mechanism, not only to find, supply diesel, we will need petrol as well. And also it doesn't end up there. Now when I came into your studio, I got a call. An agency is asking from us, why are you not putting on your generator? So we can't start the generator, there is no diesel available in that area where I have my hotel. So in the industry, it is not only the vehicles, there are hotels. So those generators has to work. So these are the big issues.
Not an easy time, isn't it? I mean, the storm is not over yet. That's what you're saying.
Not over yet. We have been struggling, and we have been in kind of Aragalia since 2019. So we are still pedaling.
Is the government, now this might be a bit of a tough and a straightforward question, but that's what we are here to discuss.
Of course.
Do you feel that the government is listening to the concerns? Are they lending a listening ear? And may I ask, do you feel that they are listening a bit better than before?
I can give a very short reply. Government is listening and replying within their limits.
Understood.
Government is limited. It is a short reply I can give.
Makes sense. Mr. Nilan, let's talk about India, a key market for Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And maybe not in terms of margins, but definitely in terms of the volumes. It's a big market. But we see a lot of Indian media time dedicated to talk about a lot of negative news about Sri Lanka. There's a lot of national TV and online channels dedicated to publishing minimum one negative Sri Lanka news segment. I'm sure you've seen this, and the whole world has seen this. What kind of impact do you see that having on the Indian market?
Not only for Indian market, it's international. Especially India is the closest neighbor, and India loves us. Indians like to come to Sri Lanka and spend a few days. And other than the legitimate media like big companies, big media institutions, the social media is also very powerful. And so whatever may happen in 5 minutes, it will be telecasted all over the world. So we had our problems, of course, here since about 2 months. And then putting an icing on it, there is now international problem also in Sri Lanka. So when you talk about two countries and people have different ideas,
correct,
sometimes Indians can see us like enemies. And from the other part, they can, it's a very, very sensitive, as you say. So I think Indians are willing to come. Actually, SLAITO with Indian Travel Agents Association, we have organized a very big event in Sri Lanka, bringing in about 900 travel agents from India to Sri Lanka to promote. So all that I think we couldn't manage because we didn't have proper logistics. Bringing them alone in Sri Lanka would have done wonders because all their travel agents coming into the country. And also now our minister has appointed Sanat Jayasuri as the ambassador, which is a
very popular figure in
very
India.
popular figure. And also Yohani. Rohan is there, top class musician today. So these things are very, very good.
Hopefully we'll see some results in the
That's
future.
right, yes.
Mr. Nilan, thank you so much for joining us on this segment and sharing your ideas, and wish you and the team at SLAITO all the very best.
Thank you very much.
Is it time to reinvent the Sri Lankan tourism industry, especially in the rising trends such as ecotourism? Let's talk about that on the other side of this short break. This is BISNOMICS. Welcome back to BISNOMICS. We are focusing today on the latest developments in the tourism sector and what you need to know about this all-important industry. And our next guest of today, the second out of the trio of experts, is none other than Mr. Bandhula Ekenayake, representing the Hotel Association of Sri Lanka. Mr. Ekenayake, welcome to BISNOMICS.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Ekenayake, in the face of some of the new developments we see in tourism, despite the challenges, we see that we are living in a world where even the travelers, they are requesting a new kind of tourism. We talk about ecotourism. We talk about some of the Pacific islands like Palau, where they are saying you can get experiences based on how sustainable you are, how less plastics that you used, and so on. So we see a new breed of tourists now coming in the world as well. So do you feel that this is the time to reinvent our tourism, and how ready are we as a country for trends such as ecotourism? We talk about it a lot, yes, but do we really have effective practice of that?
To tell you the truth, Redu, that the Hotels Association was involved in this project. They were to launch it in 2019. Badly, we couldn't do it because of the incident took place in April.
Correct.
But we were planning everything at that year really. And we were mainly targeting on Colombo hotels, and to start with this no plastic operations, as well as there was a program started with the tourist board. Sri Lanka Tourism started a program, Sustainable Tourism Award System, where we were going into all the eco-friendly systems. And most of the hotels, I think, took the initiatives on those. As to tell you the truth, I think, for my knowledge, I think there are nearly 50 to 60% of the hotels in Sri Lanka, large scale as well as medium and small scale hotels, are practicing these things, and very well I know, because
could you share some of the best practices? Which
yeah, now for example in we'll say in Sigiriya or Bandhula area, most of the hotels, they are practicing this plastic free operations as polythene free operations. I know for personally, if I tell in my operations at Nuwara, the Blackpool Hotel, we are practicing this from the day one really. So we don't tolerate any plastic, or not even plastic water bottles in our rooms. So that is, we started this, and we have all the knowledge as well as experience, or we can go into all those things with the materials what we have in Sri Lanka. And I think it's high time, because most of them are thinking about this. I was just about to tell you the sustainable tourism should come into hotel operations now, because where you can cut down a lot of costs.
Correct.
As well as the energy and all those things.
Absolutely. Need of the hour.
Need of the hour, because as the cost factors are going up day by day.
And
we
it
have
sounds like a perfect cup of tea, because you have the customers demanding it.
Yes.
The hotels wanting to cut down some of the expenses.
Definitely.
Perfect match.
Definitely. Now, for example, now you are talking about this fuel crisis as well as the no power and all those things. In some hotels, I know personally, they organize candlelight dinners when the weather is permitting. So you don't have to worry about the electricity or anything like that, and give them a cocktail, candlelight cocktail. You cut down your generator operation. So it's something new you have to start thinking really. Because you have to think out of the box, because now the trend is that the fittest person, or who can match into the disaster will exist really.
Survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest.
Absolutely. Some interesting thoughts there. Mr. Ekenayake, let's talk about the support that has been granted to the hotels, especially the hotels. You represent the hotels, and hotel owners, I believe, are a key stakeholder, because you plan, you invest in the hotel sector, you create jobs. So you are obviously the hotel owners are obviously important stakeholders in this entire industry, no two doubts on that. Are you happy with the type of support that the government has granted? I'm talking not only the industry in general, specifically towards the hotel owners.
Actually, to tell you the truth, that they have done their best, because moratorium facilities were granted for the last nearly 24 months, and they have extended by another 6 months.
I believe I heard that as well.
Up to end of December. So another thing is now the Hotels Association is requesting them to curtail down the interest, like what they were charging, interest on interest, and all those things we are requesting. And the other in other areas, like for example, they have given some special request made by us. Really, the request, they adhere to those requests. That is they didn't charge for the liquor license. Liquor licenses were given free of charge. They didn't charge for the TDL, that is Tourism Development Levy. They didn't charge that. Likewise, there are benefits for given, but only thing is what I request, or I wanted to mention at this juncture, that there should be some sort of a facility for electricity also, because as the cost has gone up very, I think by nearly 60-75%. So that they have to think about a special tariff system especially for the hotels where they can't, because most of the hotels have all these facilities, like for example lifts, air conditioners, heaters, and all those things are consume lot of electricity, and this is the time for them to give that facility also, and to extend the facilities. But now, for example, if we can cope up with this demand with the coming 6 months, if we can come into some sort of a break even, then we will be in a position to save our loans and other things. We can start serving those things. But if it is not that, then they have to think about another mechanism where you have to go to the borrowing agents or loan agents or anything like that, and get them to support the industry, and then give that facility directly to the hotels.
Correct.
That has to be done.
And not just to the bank also.
Not to the banks, yes.
Mr. Ekenayake, in terms of being a hotelier, a hotel owner, tell me, how hard is the staff problem these days?
To tell you the truth, now most of the hotels, right, have curtailed their staff, and has come down to, I would say, by nearly 40% it has come down, because it's not some sort of a we have not stopped them working, or we have not asked them, we have not asked them to come to work or anything like that. So it's like now most of them have migrated also, because there is a big demand in for the Football World Cup. There is a big demand in Middle East,
especially
Doha. So there is a demand there. And other thing is, one way we should be happy, because at least we get the forex once again from them through that really.
Correct.
And we find it difficult, yes, but only thing is, another point what I want to highlight is, now we are thinking about going for the multitask oriented staff for the hotels.
The multi-skilled.
Multi-skilled, right? So they have to perform all they have to work in all the areas, and give their performances into that level, because that's actually the people are willing to do that, because they know the difficulties. Because now, for example, the staff who are with us at the moment, they know the difficulties what they went through, and the owners went through, and we have not stopped paying their salaries or anything like. We give them all the benefits, and we have to feed them, we have to give them accommodation, we have to provide them with the medical facilities and all those things. So most of the hotels, I think all the hoteliers are doing that in very good condition. Right, and we have to keep that going on, right?
Understood. Let's talk about the returning to the normalcy, because that's what everyone wants to know. Everyone wants the country to return to normalcy, and I believe you being a hotelier, you want the tourism sector to also return to normalcy. Let's say, for the sake of the discussion, we keep normalcy as pre-2019 or pre-COVID times, because I believe even after the unfortunate Easter attacks, the tourism numbers did see a rebound, and the people were coming to Sri Lanka. In your estimate, or I would say guesstimate, when do you see that happening? People like to know that.
In 2018, that $4 billion has come into Sri Lanka, right? If we
tourism.
through tourism, right? And at least if we can go into 50%, at least 2 billion US dollars will come into Sri Lanka but through tourism. And my thinking is to get into normalcy, it will be to 2023-24 season like. Before that, I think we can't think about. But if we have sort out all these problems with the fuel and other thing is on the Sri Lanka also, all the Sri Lankan peoples also under tremendous stress. They want to move out from their normal places and go for a holiday.
Yes.
So if these fuel issues and other things are curtailed, and we will have some sort of a breathing space with them, right, with that tourism. But mainly to go into the real guests or the tourists, we have to wait until 2023-24. 24 will be the season where we are looking for really.
Mr. Ekenayake, you are very closely attached to the tourism sector and the hotel sector in Nuwara. Now, with the fuel problems somewhat reducing and the fuel queues getting somewhat short and the supplies getting regulated and at least manageable in some way, the talk of the town is that recently a weekend in Nuwara was quite busy. What are your thoughts?
Yes, last weekend was.
I can see the smile. I can see the
last
smile.
weekend was quite busy. So almost all the day. But if you take that throughout the month, it's somewhere around you maintain only 10 to 15% occupancy capacity, room capacity.
Understood.
So but with now they have introduced the Allodese, the train service.
Correct.
That will give some sort of business to the, because lot of Sri Lankans also willing to go in that train. It's I think lifetime journey like.
After all,
once
in the
lifetime.
initial years of COVID, the domestic tourism market kept the hotels
going
some way.
Yes, some way, yes. Yeah. In for example, before these incidents, we had a really good before COVID, we had a some sort of a Sri Lankan tourism improvement like.
Correct.
In Sri Lankans, with the Sri Lankans. And with these facilities they are improving with the train and other things, I think there is some sort of a breathing space where we can think about at least little oxygen will come into us by end of this year like, and to go with.
And I certainly hope that will be the case for you and the other hoteliers and the hotel sector employees in the country as well. Thank you for joining us and wish you good luck.
Thank you very much.
The talk about inadequate fuel being allocated to the tourism sector, how true is that, and what more can we really do in order to reinvent the tourism sector skills in this country? Let's talk about that on the other side of this short break. This is BISNOMICS. Welcome back to BISNOMICS, your weekend's most profitable 60 minutes. I'm Nilan Wickramasinghe. Our focus today is on the all-important tourism sector, the current status quo, and what you need to know regarding the latest development and the challenges that the industry players are facing. And our third guest for today is none other than Mr. Rohan Abeywickrama, representing the Association of Small and Medium Enterprises in Tourism. Mr. Abeywickrama, welcome to BISNOMICS. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Abeywickrama, let's talk about this fuel issue, because there have been some recent allegations that the amount of fuel allocated, the fuel quota allocated is actually not adequate. I want a detailed and an honest opinion on this matter, how you, as a member of the hotel trade and as someone representing especially the small and medium enterprises in this sector, what are your thoughts on this?
Actually, Tarindu, we have members bringing tourists to the country. So they are totally got paralyzed. Even from the airport transfers, they couldn't manage till they introduced this system. Also for small hotels where they had 10 rooms, they had small generators, they stopped issuing generators. Even places like Hikkaduwa, they had 5 hours, 8 hours power cuts and they went out of business. And they were very beginning, we discussed that not to send tourists to these hotels because there will be bad image on the country and this will experience and it will continue even for them to come next year even to this country. So at the end of the day, because of this Aragale only we managed to come up to this. Actually this happened because we didn't work well, the government sector, the top people who is sitting in these chairs, starting from the secretaries and the ministers involved before these new appointments, and they did not work because there is no rocket science here to introduce this QR system. The same officers did this. They introduced the QR system to manage giving a quota monthly, weekly, and like that to buy buses, because even the cars tourism sector, now it's happening well. We have to introduce the itinerary to them and they issue it, and we can get fuel from the army camps and CTB depots. But 3 months ago, when everybody was in crisis, nobody knew, thought of this. So this is all fail of the regime. I'm talking about the management. Who introduced this system are the people who handled that before too. So it is now it's happening well. So who introduced this QR system? Same officers, right? We didn't import any people from other countries to introduce the QR system. So they know no rocket science, they didn't work. If they worked well, we would have not come into this situation. We would have had a smooth sailing in our tourism sector. Now we have failed. Our agents are asking, well, how can we provide transport, whether you can do it. Many questions, emails after emails, they were asking whether we can afford to keep the movements.
So they have really lost faith in Sri Lanka as a tourism destination.
Exactly,
to
because
send people.
So actually there was international media covering Sri Lanka situation, and we got calls, emails from agents whether they were cancelling because they couldn't rely on us, and we also couldn't cope up the request of providing transport.
Understood. Understood. So do you find a good support from the CTB and the members of the forces when providing fuel to the tourism sector players?
Actually now tourism sector is in place because they had some sort of arrangements with the government, the tourism players with the government to help the industry. So I don't know how they manage now, but we are smoothly moving forward.
Understood. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the skills development. I believe you are involved in the council that is appointed towards developing the skills of the tourism sector players as well.
Yeah.
Tell us about this council, Mr. Abeywickrama, and let's also talk whether let's talk about what kind of skills do we need to see in our tourism sector professionals and employees in this day and age.
Actually, I'm a board member of the Tourism Industry Skills Council, where we have TVEC, NITA, and the private sector, other association in the tourism industry, where we train people they have not qualified on the education stream, we have NVQ systems that they can recognize into the industry. Also, they can go to other countries to work in the kitchen department and the housekeeping department. At the same time, we have lost a lot of staff because of this. After the from up to now, many hotels have lost about 20-30% of their good staff. They have gone to Maldives Islands and other countries, Middle East and etc. like that. Also, there is an issue here. We have an education system problem because I have proposed to introduce tourism as subject to the A levels before they come out from the school. Because after they come out only they know what is tourism. So we have to train them from the bottom line, what are the benefits that they have. So the student, we are having 4 hotel schools, including Anuradhapura and Ratnapura. I have spoken to the principal. They are short of children to come in to learn tourism, as well as other people in the industry. They are having shortfall of this particular segment, and they are not concerned to go into it because they don't know the outcome, value of it. Also, gender-wise, we have lot of other regional countries. If you take Maldives Island, Maldives more females than our hotels industry who is coming into the industry. You know, because our culture also has a barrier for that. So like that, we have a big shortfall of the people now because of this system, and also I believe we have a big language barrier now. So I think that we get the school education system also reform, we will not have good staff to the hotel industry and the tourism sector because of the language barriers.
So those are some of the key areas that need to be addressed upon.
Exactly, because I think our education system should be changed. You know, we should change Sinhalese schools, Tamil schools, all should be in one language, common language. No other countries have this kind of education systems. Because what is the reason? We are talking about the language and you start from the grade 5, grade 1, you have separation because of your language. What is this? Education, nothing to do with that.
What would be your thinking in terms of training some of the other foreign languages to potential candidates, for example, Mandarin or Russian language? What are your thoughts on this?
Actually, we are introduced Sri Lanka Tourism Hotel School. They have started even Bandhula Ekenayake International Center. They have lot of language classes now because we were entertaining other like China and Russian people. So we have a lot of trained guides now. They are doing well. They were doing well too. So we need more people to speak in different languages because we feel that when we go to a trade fair in another country, we are short of this kind of language skills even here.
Talking about guides, because I believe the tourism guides have a major role to play in the image that is formed about the country in the minds of the tourists, because they are the ones to whom they get the closest to. Do you believe the system we have in place towards producing more guides and managing them, monitoring them, is it adequate or are changes needed?
No, we need some reforms because there are certain professional guides attached with particular companies. Now I have a company, I have guides working for me for right along about say 10 years. And we train them. When we have a program, we take them around and we demarcate where to stop and how we should do. So there are guides, so they are attached to certain companies. They are not freelancing basically, and all the guides are doing well. Who is recognized by those agencies are doing well. Actually, they have no issue hard and fast. Of course, now they have no work much because we have lost our tourism industry has lost more than 60% of the arrivals. So they have less work. But these things has to be upgraded time to time. This is the job of the SLTDA. They are the licensing authority and they do it, and they have to improve certain things with the industry because this is a private sector driven industry. So we are always together with all the private sector involved in the boards. So they consult us. We have time to time developments. And even at NITA, TVEC, we do skills development programs. We develop curriculums and we train trainers, and we are getting funds like that. Right now also we are doing a program in Sigiri area. Oxfam has given us some funding to train domestic tourism suppliers like homestay programs like that. So we have been doing a lot of things like that.
Finally, the small and medium players, I believe, are some of the key stakeholders. I believe they provide a lot more capacity than some of the bigger players to this sector. How bad is the plight that they are in, and what are your thoughts on the way forward for that sector, especially because you are representing the small and medium sector?
Actually, that sector needs a lot of saline for you to understand, because they have taken loans and it has stagnated with their interest. These people who have about 5 rooms, 10 rooms, because soon after Saharan, they never expected this dragging of this kind of low arrivals. So they have stuck with their loans, interest on interest. So the government has to rethink and, they have to be reorganized. Actually, I request, they are all these soft loan has to be, they are interest on interest has to be waived off for them to breathe. They have to come up in life because the sector in the SME, in the Sigiriya and Polonnaru, all these cultural triangle is having a time. They can't, keep their staff, neither the assets also with them because all are mortgage properties. So they are having a very bad time. So finance ministry has to do something for that.
Absolutely.
We have requested that also.
We hope that the requirements of this sector will be looked into, Mr. Abeywickrama, and that they will be supported right throughout in order to revive the tourism sector of Sri Lanka, and wish you and the members of your association and the overall tourism sector professionals and players all the very best in reviving this all-important sector of our national economy. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
No matter what industry you may be in, staying updated on the latest developments regarding key industries of the country is of utmost vitality. And today, in our discussion about the tourism sector, the current plight, the way forward, the challenges ahead, we hope that insight will guide you in making decisions regarding your business in the coming weeks ahead. I'm Nilan Wickramasinghe, and I will see you with the next episode of BISNOMICS. As always, this is your weekend's most profitable 60 minutes.